Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for the TEAS. We have been solving math problems out of this book here. There's 30 manuals for the TEAS. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. Today, we're going to continue our discussion from yesterday. Yesterday, we were discussing percentages, the simple percentages, the common percentages that one must know by heart if one is to sit for the exam. Yesterday, we discussed the tenths and the fifths. We looked at the tenths and the fifths, 1/10, 2/10, and so on and so forth, and the fifth, 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5. And we left off yesterday at this point here. We said that today that is, we have to do the quarters, the eighth, and the thirds. So let's do them. We're going to start with the quarters first. And we're going to make a chart very similar to this one for the quarters. Today is our lesson number 9, as you already know. So here we go. We have 1 quarter, we have 2 quarters, we have 3 quarters, and finally 4 quarters. 1 quarter, of course, is very straightforward. A quarter, what is that in decimal? That's just 0.25, which is same as 25%. What about 2 quarters? Well, 2 quarters is just half. 2 quarters is just half, which is 50%, of course, 0.5 or 50%. And 3 quarters is also very straightforward, which is 0.75, which is same as 75%. And finally, 4/4 is straightforward. It is 1, which is the 100%. So that part was very easy. We're done with the quarters. Let's deal with the eighth. How do we figure out eighth in decimal and percentages? Well, this is very straightforward. An eighth, what we have to realize is simply, an eighth is simply half of a quarter. An eighth is simply half of a quarter. We can show it right here, mathematically that is, 1 times 1 is 1 and 2 times 4 is 8, and we get 1/8, or we can show it pictorially right here. We have our quarter here, and half of the quarter, that's your eighth. An eighth is half of a quarter, half of a quarter. Well, we already know what a quarter is. A quarter is 25%. A quarter is 25%. So the question is, what is half of that? What is half of 25? Well, half of 24 we know is 12. If half of 24 is 12, then it stands to reason that half of 25 must be 12.5. 12.5, that's all. So what we have to do here is just simply keep adding 12.5 to each of the previous numbers, and we'll get our eighth. So the very first one is going to be half of that amount, which is going to be, instead of 25, it's going to be 1.125, which is 12.5%. Voila. What about 3/8? Well, 3/8, let's take a look at it here. 3/8 is simply 2/8 plus an eighth. 2/8 is the quarter, isn't it? 2/8 is a quarter. Quarter we already know is 25%. So it's 25%, which is a quarter, 25% plus 12.5 gives us 37.5%. So this is going to be 0.375, 37.5%. This 2 quarters, of course, is same as 4/8. So we have our 1/8, this is our 2/8, our 3/8, our 4/8. What about our 5/8? 5/8, again, it's just going to be whatever this quantity is plus another 12.5. That's what it is. 5/8 is going to be 0.5 plus 0.125, which is going to be 62.5%. And of course, the same demonstration can be shown for 5/8. 5/8 is just going to be 5/8 is just going to be 4/8 plus an eighth. 4/8 is just a half, which is 50%. So this part is 50%, and this part we know is 12.5%. So we get 62.5%, which is our 5/8 right here. 6/8 is 3/4. What about 7/8? What's 7/8? Is again very straightforward. 7/8 is just going to be whatever this amount was, 0.75 plus 12.5%, which is going to give us 87.5%. Another way to look at 7/8 is this part. Another way to visualize 7/8 is that 7/8 is simply equals to 8/8 minus an eighth. And 8/8 of course is 100%, so it's 100% minus 12.5%, which is 87.5%, which is our 7/8. We don't need this thing now, I'm going to erase it. And there you have it. You got your eighth and your quarters. The last thing that is left for us to understand and work on are the thirds. And thirds are very straightforward. Let's do the thirds here. Thirds are quite straightforward. 1/3 is, we already know, is 0.33 repeating, which is simply 33 1/3%. 2/3 is going to be twice that amount, which is 0.66 repeating all the time, which is usually rounded up. It's 0.67 because this digit is more than 5, so we round it up to becomes 0.67 or 67%. And we're not going to do the 3/3. 3/3 is just 100%. The very last thing I want to do is to quickly bring to your attention 1/6. It's a good thing to know. 1/6 again will have the same logic that 1/8 did. 1/8 we realized was half of 1/4. Similarly, 1/6 is going to be half of 1/3. 1/6 is half of 1/3. 1/3 we know is 33%. So it is half of 33. Or if you like, we can say 1/6 is approximately 32 divided by 2. Even though it is 33, we can, that's hence the approximation. If you have to approximate, nobody's going to argue with the fact that 1/6 is approximately 16%. Just to have the ballpark figure, you have to have some notion as to what it is. 1/6 is about 16%, because 16 times 2 is 32. Or if you want to be more precise, you could say that 1/6 is approximately 16.5%, which is even a little bit more precise, because 16.5 times 2 is 33. And so what we're leaving out is this 0.33 part. At least we get up to 33%. So that's it. 1/6 is approximately 16.5%. 1/3 is going to be 1/3 is going to be twice as much. 2 times 16.5 is 33%, and therefore 2/3 is 66% or 67%. That's it. We're done. What we have to do now are the two problems that we still have not done from yesterday, problem number 3 and problem number 4, that you see on page 61, which is where we are. Page 61, problem number 3. Just give me 1 second. If I don't put the cap back on, if I leave it open for too long, it gets dry. Alright, let's do problem number 3. You have it obviously. Problem number 3 and 4 on page 61. Problem 3 says 0.3 times, this is problem number 3 on page 61, times 0.12. And as we have learned in the last couple of days that we've been doing the multiplication and division of decimals, what we have learned is that when we're multiplying two decimal numbers, just ignore the decimal to start out with and just do your multiplication. So this is just 12 times 3. 12 times 3, of course, as we know, is 36. But it's not technically 12 times 3, it is 0.12 times 0.3. I shouldn't have written it in such a lousy way. 12 times 3 is just 36, and this is 0.12. It has two decimal places, 1 and 2, and this is 0.3, which is one decimal place. So we have to move our answer. Our decimal place stays here. We have to move it 3 places, 1, 2, and 1 here. So we take it and move it 3 places, 1, 2, and 3. It's going to end up here. So we need a 0. So the answer is 0.12. 0.12 times 0.3 is 0.036. 0.036. Let's do the next one, shall we? Let's do the next one. Problem number 4. Problem number 4 says, simplify the expression, which is 0.4 divided by 0.02. When you have to divide one decimal by another decimal, as I have been reminding you the last 2-3 days, and I also gave you the sermon on a couple of occasions, and I'm doing it one more time and probably several more times in the future, you must watch these videos in their proper sequence, otherwise you will not get much out of it, because I take it for granted that you have understood and heard and listened and taken notes of things that we learned in the past, because obviously we can't keep repeating everything all the time. What we have learned in the past is that when we have to divide one decimal by another decimal, there are two ways of going about it. One is the way that is shown in the book, which is the very academic way, very nerdy way, very geeky way, the proper way, the mathematical way. Another way is to cheat a little bit. The way we cheat is that we write these things first of all in fractions. 0.4 can be written as 4 over 10 divided by 0.02 can be written as 2 over 100. And now, instead of trying to divide this bloody thing, let's convert this into a multiplication problem by taking the reciprocal of this thing. So this becomes 4 over 10 times 100 over 2. Now we no longer have to do the division. So don't do it the way the book shows you. It's more confusing, it's more irritating, you're more likely to make mistakes. Just convert it into a simple multiplication problem by taking the reciprocal of the second fraction. Divide top and bottom by 10, and that gets rid of this 0. Divide top and bottom by 2, that gets rid of this 2. So what we end up is 2 times 10, which is of course 20. And that's it, we're done. 2 times 10 is 20. Let's see what we have tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to start some new topic, which has to do with rational and irrational numbers. I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye now.